the news is concerned, and then dig a bit deeper into the main conversation of the day. Today is all about the coalition factor. We've seen a lot of posturing, a lot of positioning taking place. Where does that leave us moving forward politically? That's a conversation we'll be having right here in studio. But even as we start it, it's all about a new week, but the same question persisting. Is all well within the handshake union, with talk on demands being placed on ODM if they're to get the deputy governor position in Nairobi, and increasing criticism from Raila Odinga on the government's development record? There's also the question of the United Development Alliance and its various dalliances within different regions in the country. Seeking a political meeting of minds, is it? Or a coalition season that seems to be jumping the gun politically? That's a conversation we're having right here, and it's all about the coalition factor on K24 this morning. But as always, first, we look at the newspaper headlines. Start off with the front page of the People Daily. Uhuru's grand plan to restore Mount Kenya. Let's see what he has in there. They're terming it a packed diary. BBI proponents are pulling all stops to market the proposed law changes, with radio talks to sell the project and meeting local leaders to shift opinion. This story can be found on page 4 of your People Daily right there. And as you can see, the key people of interest in terms of forwarding that particular agenda. We have the two co-principals of the BBI, the president and the former PM, Musalia Mudavadi, also coming in that particular regard. And again, as I said, this story on page 4 of your People Daily. On the other section of your PD, right at the top right there, 500 million shilling legal fees that has put law firms on EACC radar. At least 8 MCAs and 25 law firms are being probed over the $500 million fee note that the anti-graft czar says was paid last week but reeks of corruption. This story can be found on page 13 of your People Daily, with all the details therein. And also, even as we speak about this, Senator Kangata's law firm also seeming to be under the crosshairs as far as these transactions are concerned. The senator still persists that these were above board, has all the records to prove that. And of course, it's a developing story, so we'll be giving you the latest as and when we get more information from the EACC. Top part of your front page survey: Kenyans unhappy and wary of state of the economy. Health workers and media are the toast of many citizens. This story can be found on page 5, courtesy of an InfoTrack poll that was released over the weekend. All the details of that on page 5 of your PD. And just in case you haven't gotten yourself a copy of your PD, you don't have to leave the house, I tell you, every single morning. If you're in the office, you don't have to leave the office. You can get it straight to your phone. It's only 10 shillings. And the number that you dial is star 550 star 4 hash. Once again, star 550 star 4 hash. No app needed for that. Don't even need data for that. Just the number, star 550 star 4 hash. It's brought to you by the People Daily and Safaricom. Let's see what the Standard has this morning. Raila chances at presidency. Let's scroll up on that. ODM has advertised for candidates to fly its presidential flag in next year's poll. If Raila chooses to run and is voted in by delegates, he'll be gunning for a seat that has been elusive since 1997. In the Standard, they're assessing his chances of clinching that particular seat next year. You can find those details in your copy of your Standard this morning. Even as look at that, of course, let's look at the extreme right end of your paper. Stillborn, they're calling it. The state unveiled a 300 billion shilling Mombasa-Nairobi expressway in 2017. To date, not an inch of the 473-kilometer grand but controversial project has been laid. What exactly happened? Questions lingering over this particular project, and you can find the details of that in your copy of your Standard this morning, with all the details therein. Quickly, let's move right along to the front page of your Daily Nation now. Ruto defends Uhuru over Raila attacks. Now, in a fresh twist, the DP, who has been lately attacking, lately been attacking President Kenyatta, aggressively defended the head of state, outlining the Jubilee administration's achievements since taking power in 2013. As you can see, the strange deputy, who has become an outsider in his own government thanks to the March 2018 camaraderie between the president and Mr. Odinga, popularly known as the handshake, praised the performance prior to their rapprochement with the opposition leader. This story is on page 4 of your Daily Nation, and you can get all the details in there that you need. Let's get to the bottom, scroll to the bottom of the page right there. It's all about matters education. Schools hit by discipline crisis. As you can see right there, of course, there's been increasing cases of violent delinquency between students of the school and various staff of the school, be it teachers or security guards, and it's a key issue of concern right there. This story can be found on page 8 of your Daily Nation, with all the details therein. Let's look at the front page of the Star now. Wairia assets frozen in 542 million shilling tender probe. Top Image Media Consultants Limited says all the dealings in Murang'a were above board. The EACC, of course, claiming that there were some scrupulous dealings right there, and you can get the details of that particular story in your Star. As you can see, same headline with the picture that they're using right there, courtesy of the Star. Stop embarrassing Uhuru in rallies, Ruto tells Raila. You can get the details of that right there. And as you can see, really interesting political times we're living in right now, when at each particular time, things could change and the tide could change as well. Let's look at what we have on the front page of your Business Daily. Fresh audit raises red flag over NYS tenders. Auditor General has queried irregularities in tender awards and unapproved payments. This, of course, being quite a sore spot as far as the country is concerned, and the fight against corruption, because it almost seems like this is the very soft underbelly that most tenderpreneurs will latch onto if they want to get some quick money unscrupulously. Those details of that particular story can be found on page 4 of your Business Daily therein. Even as you look at that, privacy acid test in state's COVID-19 data tracing bid, as you can see right there. So even as they try to track and trace, where does that leave the right to privacy for the ordinary Kenyan? The story that you can get in your copy of your Business Daily this morning. So that's what you're waking up to as far as your dailies are concerned right here. But today, it's all about the coalition factor. It's a discussion we're having right here. Is the political landscape changing in terms of what we are seeing right now, and how important is it even as a gear up for the campaigns coming in 2022? It's a discussion we're having right here. We love it when you're part of it. You can get me at I am Jeff Mote or at K24 TV. Welcome to K24 this morning. Welcome back. Let's get right to it, of course, as I get to my panelists to talk about the coalition factor and plenty more conversations right here. In studio, all three, by the way. Welcome back, Leader Maithia. She is the founder of Daughters of the Mountain. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show once again.
Asante sana.
Also joined by youth policy analyst and expert, Gloria Roba. Karibu sana. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
Asante sana. Thanks for making time.
Thank you.
We also have the public policy analyst, Mr. Arnold Maliba. Morning, Arnold.
Morning, Jeff.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Today you have nothing to say about Manchester United winning? No, we don't talk about soccer?
No.
Or you only like to talk about it when we are on a losing streak?
No. This is definitely something to say, because at the moment you realize that the people from that other team are very violent. They're throwing and hurling insults here and there. So we are asking the government to grant us security as Manchester United fans. Our lives are in danger.
Okay, let's move it right along on this one, even as we see how things play out. Before we even talk about the coalition factor, I want to look at the front page of the PD. Uhuru's grand plan to restore Mount Kenya. Gloria, we did hear his interview that he did on various Kikuyu radio stations, vernacular stations, and of course from there lots was said, much more was taken out from this particular point. And some people are saying, why is the president so keen on this charm offensive in this one region? It is his backyard, but you can see more of him trying to restore his plan in Western, in Rift Valley, in the coast. Why Mount Kenya specifically right now?
Yes, we had his vernacular rant. It wasn't really an interview. It was more about addressing the Mount Kenya people, trying to regain back the faith that he thinks, or he has been told that he has lost. Mm-hmm. Based on the activities that have been going on, political activities, and just the reception that the Kieleweke side has been receiving in terms of BBI in Mount Kenya, it is definitely clear that Jubilee has lost ground. Uhuru Kenyatta has actually, people have lost faith in him, not only in Mount Kenya, but across board. So I think I've always said that the Building Bridges initiative was introduced to us so that we could find a way to give Uhuru Kenyatta a sort of political career continuity.
Even if he has said severally that he doesn't want any other post, once he's done with this, he's done.
You know, we can look back at how our former president, Mwai Kibaki, actually, exited the stage. He had no interest politically. He literally was finishing his projects, trying to hand over, certain instruments in terms of, business continuity. He had no interest going to vernacular stations to try to address Mount Kenya. He had no interest being a part of endorsements for coalitions or alliances. He had no interest in terms of political continuity. But what we see with Uhuru Kenyatta, and to be fair, he's young, he's fairly young in that field. So to be fair, I can imagine that the people around him are actually advising him, if we manage to push this Building Bridges initiative, then, you could run for MP. And if you run for MP, definitely, as we're looking into the expansion of the executive, we could definitely consider you as a sort of deputy or prime minister or whatever, all those other positions that they're fielding. But I think, in all fairness, it's not only just the political part of it. Last week, Musalia Mudavadi actually, he distanced himself from the endorsements that appeared that he was getting. Or rather, it appeared he was getting an endorsement by Uhuru Kenyatta. And he said, you know what, I'm not the preferred. And we were asking ourselves, why is it at this moment that nobody wants to be associated with Uhuru Kenyatta in terms of political continuity? So I think there's also that element of him trying to regain back that, good credit from Mount Kenya. Not only that, but going to 2022, as we are very tribal, and you've seen our politics, as particularly from the other side of the divide, they're really trying to push that tribal card. Definitely, the person who's going to be holding Mount Kenya, the person who will seem to be influencing Mount Kenya, would be a significant person to on the table. So I think that's the reason why Uhuru Kenyatta has dumped his Big Four agenda, has dumped the BBI, has dumped everything else, and is now literally just interested in, seeking that favor from Mount
Gloria,
Kenya.
they're saying that he's actually going to try and sell this BBI gospel in the mountain. Let me get to Lydia on this one as well. So I don't think he's dumped this particular project.
He's dumped it.
But the interest the president has in this particular region is pretty interesting, because we haven't heard him go and have, let's say, a range of Luya stations to have an interview with, or Kalenjin stations. So we can see a very focused president on this one region. Why that now, if he really is leaving the scene, exiting the scene, why does he still have to go there and try and play politics in this particular region?
Well, first of all, let me say that the president was not ranting on Kameme TV.
Right.
The president was communicating with his people. And let's not forget why the president is in trouble in Mount Kenya in the first place.
Why is that?
He's in trouble in Mount Kenya because it was his philosophy when he became president that he was a president of all Kenyans. And so he focused his energy on all of Kenya. So you would see him everywhere at the coast. You would see him in Rift Valley. You would see him, launching projects and made sure that resources went everywhere. To an extent that coming now into 2017, there was a feeling within Mount Kenya, it was potent that he had not delivered for Mount Kenya. You understand? They were saying, so what was the use of this presidency of yours if we are not going to deliver to the mountain? And he was having a hard time explaining that, I'm not just president for Mount Kenya, I'm president for the whole country. And that is how he got in trouble in the first place. The second reason why he got in trouble is because he is focused on policy, he's focused on getting resources for this government to run. And so he sends his deputy to go and do the groundwork, go launch this project, update these people about this road. And when the deputy president would go, he would travel with an avalanche of 10 MPs who would first of all talk about 2022, all of them, Nadeni, and all these things that are supposed to happen in 2022 before they talk about the road and those other things. So there is that sense in which then the agenda of development was overtaken. The other thing I'd like to correct is that the president has dumped the Big Four, something like that has been said. The president is not the one who wakes up in the morning and goes to the Ministry of Transport and builds roads. There is Kenha, there is Kura, there is Kera, there is airports are done by KAA. There is a Ministry of Tourism that promotes tourism. There is a Ministry of Public Service that runs the public service. There are so many agencies and so many civil servants, over 600,000 of them. So the president does not need to be seated at State House monitoring every day what everybody is doing. So to say that the president has abandoned the Big Four is is an incorrect statement. Okay. The president is focused on the Big Four, but he also cannot abandon the politics of the country. Okay. And that's why you're seeing him now making making an effort. So why he is focused on Mount Kenya is because there has been a lot of misunderstanding about the BBI project. Yeah, and this misinformation, again, building up on that, that effort that has been there to tell people that, this president is not supporting Mount Kenya. He's trying to correct that perception and to say, look, on top of delivering, I'm also guaranteeing a better future for all Kenyans, including yourselves here in Mount Kenya. Just so that, just because charity begins at home, he cannot be pushing BBI for the nation, whereas his own backyard, where his political base, is coming from, is not supporting BBI. So it is important for him to demonstrate also to his coalition or to his partners within the BBI project that he's also able to deliver his backyard, and deliver that support for the BBI. Okay,
but Gloria has also raised an interesting point, and at least we have history to look at in the sense that the president who he succeeded was also from the region, but you never had to hear Kibaki speaking to vernacular stations, telling them what they've done for the mountain. He was the president of the country and he exited as such. What's so unique about this particular president who's come from the same region? Is it the BBI that's the main problem in selling?
Do you remember Moi used to carry a rungu? Did Kibaki carry a rungu?
No.
Is Uhuru carrying a rungu?
We are talking about the exit.
Oh, these are different. These are different human beings. They have different styles. They have different approaches to leadership. And they have different aspirations. They have different ambitions, isn't it? So we have to allow Uhuru his ambitions. He has to be allowed his individualism, isn't it? So him going to a vernacular media station can be queried on its own merit, but not because Kibaki did or did not do it, right? So let's interrogate it on its own merit, not that Kibaki did or Kibaki did not. Uhuru is his own president. He has his own style, and I think he has taken us a very good distance in terms of even being bold enough, more than Kibaki was, to invest in the level of infrastructure we have seen done in the last 7 years, whereas the previous administrations were afraid because they say you don't eat roads. So if you're not bold enough to cover the infrastructure deficit, then you'll just be doing social programs, you look very nice, you manage people, people feel like they have money in their pocket, but what's the long-term prospects for the country? And that's what Uhuru's presidency is about. It's about boldness, to lead from the front. And he has never shied away from leading from the front. Let
me get Arnold Maliba in on this one as well. Arnold, even as you look at the prospects of the referendum coming in June this year, is it still a tough sell in the region for the president? Because clearly all is not well, especially when it comes to the BBI and the reception it's getting on the ground. How does it change that narrative?
Jeff, I'm actually still chuckling at the people who then find it funny or important to actually point out that the president is speaking to his people in vernacular. What no one is actually telling you is that a day after the president had spoken to Kikuyu vernacular stations, Mudavadi also went there and spoke to them. No one is pointing that out. As we speak today, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is also speaking to the same nation, and no one wants to talk about it. We talk about perceptions informing reality. And it's not wrong. If the mountain does not want to come to Uhuru, Uhuru goes to the mountain. What is the problem with that? As in, it's an old thing, we always talk about it. But like Lydia said earlier on, I also think trying to change the narrative is something that the president must do going forward, for the simple reason that whereas we know that we know the money that has been actually set aside for BBI. We know the people who are talking about BBI and the resources that have been put into the BBI process. So when a few other people actually show up and they tell the whole nation that we have stopped dealing with Big Four and now we are dealing with the BBI, they honestly are lying, because we have got a budget that we set. That answer can actually be, or rather that question can be responded through looking at the budgets. So we have got national budgets. Are they all going to BBI? Not true. There is a presidential delivery unit. Has it abandoned its work and it's now taking care of BBI? It's not true. Very few people, of course, are talking about BBI. But then we have been made to understand. Of course, and Hitler's Goebbels' word that if you repeat a lie severally, then it becomes truth. And that is where we are now. That now people really actually believe and buy into the saying and the thinking that we have abandoned BBI. How much has gone into BBI? Have we been throwing away the 3 trillion shillings we have got every year? No, we have not thrown them away. But then, like we say, perceptions inform reality, and that notion has been pushed. It's up and about there. So probably the president needs to push much more. But like we've said on this setting before, is that BBI has never been marketed. There was the assumption that so long as it is the president and then the prime minister on the other end, former prime minister on the other end, pushing this particular narrative, it would not need much more marketing. What they didn't know is that the counter forces within that spectrum were also prepared, and they know this field much better. So the whole thing is that there is need to market BBI deliberately, because the other end has got a counter marketing. I don't want to call it disinformation, but they actually are very, very busy working on it.
Arnold, I want to jump in there even as you get to your next point as we move this conversation forward, because from the sense that you get when you speak to citizens who aren't invested in politics, when I say that I mean not politicians, wananchi wa kawaida, rarely will they speak about, BBI. They've always seen like it's their thing, and they want to know how they'll get, more money in their pocket, because 2020 globally was a really tough year. They want to know how they'll be able to access healthcare. We saw what the strain we experienced last time. If you're a doctor, you want to know when will the CBA be agreed to, and these are the issues they really want to be spoken to now. When the president comes and says, and of course it became a viral sensation that we're losing 2 billion shillings daily, really we want you to come the following day and say, these are the people who are stealing these particular amounts of monies. And the citizens aren't hearing that. And I think that's a problem, Arnold.
Again, that's another lie that has actually been repeated until it now looks like a truth. BBI also still talks about issues of Mwananchi. A lot of BBI has got issues to do with Mwananchi. Actually, if you look at all the 9 points, or rather the 9 issues, a number of them talked about Mwananchi. There is so much about Mwananchi, but somebody elsewhere has actually sold this narrative continuously that BBI does not talk about Mwananchi. And Mwananchi has bought it. I still want to repeat this, that perceptions inform reality. So people would want to say that BBI does not talk about Mwananchi, as if even the leaders themselves are not Mwananchi in the first place. Though the truth is that BBI talks about Mwananchi. So it's not true entirely. And it's a problem, it's a failure on the team that has been managing BBI deliberately, because they assumed that the president is a big brand ambassador, the former prime minister is a big brand ambassador, and he will sell it very well. That's why when I look at the Nation's headline today, I'm actually chuckling at it again, for the simple reason that they're saying that the DP was defending the president. You see, it makes me start wondering. When the DP tells the former prime minister not to attack Jubilee, and he now comes off as if he's defending the president, yet he says that Raila should not embarrass the president in rallies, he should call him. I really want to ask this. Probably the DP is trying to say that he is the only person with the right to embarrass the president in rallies, because that is what he's been doing. Because it looks like it is clearly him alone, Jeff. Jeff, just a moment. Because if the president tells you do not tanga-tanga, and you tanga-tanga publicly, you go out there, aren't you embarrassing him? When the president tells you do not field candidates, and you field candidates against him, aren't you embarrassing him? And then you come out and tell Raila you are embarrassing the president. When you go out there and say that BBI is has actually deviated the Jubilee administration's agenda and everything else, even though we all know how the budgets look like, even though we know that different parts of government plays different roles, aren't you embarrassing the president? You are, but then you are here then telling Raila that Raila is embarrassing the president. Yet you, as his partner, has actually been in that business much longer. And Uhuru, I know that Uhuru understands that Raila and his formation are the opposition, and he doesn't expect anything different from it. So my understanding would be that the DP probably is telling the president that I'm the only person who has got a right to embarrass you. No one else will be doing it.
Gloria, let me come to you even as we get to our first break. We have 2 minutes to go on this one, because after the break we'll be talking about this whole coalition factor and what's happening there. But as Arnold says that the BBI rather has, what's needed for the citizens and speaks to their problems, they want those solutions now. And I think that's the main problem that we are seeing from there. If it's a health commission that has been put in there, we are currently experiencing a problem with our health workers right now. How about we institute it right now? Is that what they need to do to make it more palatable to the people they sell it to.
I want to do my civic duty and educate people and give them facts. Fact number one is when we're talking about, and allow me to start from there, when we're talking about a president who's exiting the stage, really, he should be focusing on his legacy. And he came out and told us that his legacy is about the Big Four agenda, manufacturing, affordable healthcare, and all those points that were in there. We saw him vigorously going out and pushing for the affordable housing. Remember when they were launching those flats in Gara? We saw him at that moment really focusing on his legacy, because this is a president who's leaving. He's not coming back again to be president. So when I hear someone saying that we should allow him to be who he is, and you know, we cannot compare him to Mwai Kibaki, we have every right to compare him to Mwai Kibaki, because one, both of them were presidents in their last term. Two, both of them came from Mount Kenya. And the question that our daughter from the mountain, we should be asking her is, the only reason, and this is public knowledge, why does Uhuru Kenyatta feel the need to go to the mountain? Because apparently the mountain hasn't gone to him. It is because Mwai Kibaki worked for the people, for Kenyan people. And Mwai Kibaki ensured that by the time he's exiting the stage, Kenyans, including those of Mount Kenya, their pockets were filled with money. The economy was good. We're talking about infrastructure. We know very well that his legacy was roads. We credit our roads right now to our former president, Mwai Kibaki. So he didn't feel the need to go to the mountain or to go to the lake or whichever other places where all these daughters are going to come from, to tell them that, you know, speak to them in vernacular and tell them, please listen to me, because he worked. And so therefore his work basically put him out there in a good way. So the only reason that our president, Uhuru Kenyatta, is going to the mountain is because not only has he done nothing for the people of the mountain, but he has actually, I come from Kisii. I come from Kisii County. Maybe you'll call that daughters of the, what, bananas? I don't know. But then...
We'll get the sufficient...
But then I can tell you that he should feel the need to come to a vernacular Kisii station and speak to us, because we feel as much disenfranchised as those of the mountain. So okay. I believe when we are talking about a legacy, a president who's exiting the stage, we should be talking about the wins. We should be talking about what is he going to be remembered for. And we should not be talking about why he feels the need to go to a vernacular station, because who's going to talk to the people in Turkana? Which president is going to address those in Wajir? And in what language?
Ladies, gentlemen, we need to take a short break at this particular point in time. I need to pay some bills right here and also give them some time to sip on some water and cool down the temperatures. We're back after the break. Of course, we'll also be speaking to matters coalition and how it moves from here. Is it a coalition factor when we see these three on the front page of the People Daily? What really is in store politically? That and more after the break. This is K24 This Morning.